Today, I want to share with you 10 accessories that I think are actually helpful for wildlife photographers. You see, the beauty of wildlife photography is that outside of a camera and a lens, which admittedly can be quite the investment in and of themselves, there really aren't that many other things that you need to get out there and start shooting. That said, I'm not here just to share any old junk. These are 10 things that I actually do think are useful to have if you enjoy wildlife photography. And if you stay with me to the end, I'll share with you my newest bag purchase. If you've been looking for a big bag that can fit your 800 PF, you're going to want to stick around to see what it is. Alright, so let's get started with some of the boring stuff. If you spend any time out in the field, you know how dirty it can get. My gear is constantly getting covered in dust, salt, sand, and, well, you name it. And if you've shot mirrorless, you know that switching lenses introduces potential dust onto your sensor. And there's nothing worse than getting home and having dust spots to clone out on every single photo. And even my Z8 and Z9 with their shutter guards aren't 100% immune to this. For this reason, I carry one of these rocket blowers. They're small, cheap, and lightweight, and the idea is to be able to quickly blow any dust from the sensor while I'm out on the go. And then when I get back home, especially after a long shoot or a trip, I also like to clean my cameras and lenses to make sure they're ready for the next outing. I'll start by blowing any dust off with the rocket blower, but I would also recommend getting a sensor cleaning kit. They sell different ones, so pick the one for your particular sensor size. The kit's going to include some lens cleaning fluid and specially sized swabs to help you gently wipe off any dust from your sensor. I would also recommend picking up microfiber cloths and Zeiss lens cleaning wipes for cleaning and drying your glass. Just remember to blow off the dust first to minimize scratches. Okay, so the second one almost might be a no-brainer for those of you who have experience out in the field, but I do often have newer photographers ask what these are. These are the little anchors that come with the Peak Design strap system, and I'd highly recommend it for everyone. The idea is to replace the cheap and uncomfortable strap that comes with your camera, and these Peak Design straps are comfortable and highly adjustable. And because the straps clip onto these anchors like so, you can switch one strap between multiple cameras. I even put these anchors on things like my lens feet or on binoculars, etc., so that I can just quickly throw a strap on basically anything that I want to carry. It also means that when the strap is getting in my way, it's easy just to take it off and throw it in the bag. Now, if you don't like the strap or you're just not a strap person, Peak Designs also sells this capture clip that allows you to attach this mount to your belt or to a strap, and then you can clip the camera directly onto you. I like this for smaller second bodies, but personally I'm not going to use that for like a large heavy setup like my Z9 and 800 PF, but for smaller second bodies it is nice to have that flexibility. Another thing that I found as I started going out more and more was that especially on longer or multi-day shoots, I'd fill up my memory cards and I'd need to switch them out. And most bags don't really have a convenient way to store all of the various SD cards, CF Express cards, and micro SD cards that I use, so without some help, I was prone to losing them, and I don't like to manage things via Ziploc bag. So for that reason, I picked up this case from K&F Concept that lets you store all three types of these cards, and I personally do need each type between the Z9 using CF Express, the ZF using standard SD, and my drone using micro SD. So it's handy just to have a single place to put all of them. These are like 10 bucks on Amazon, and in my opinion, they're worth just picking up if you plan to use multiple memory cards. All right, the next accessory on the list is a broad category, lens filters, but specifically I am recommending a polarizing filter. I spend a lot of time by the water, and there are constantly bright hotspots of polarized lights that are just bouncing off of the surface of the water, and in my opinion, ruining a lot of my shots and compositions, potentially at least. Polarized light can also bounce off wet grass, turtle shells, and basically any shiny surface, and the effects aren't really easy to fix in post-processing when you get home. So for that reason, I recommend a polarizing filter. Now, The particular one I use is by this company called KASE, and I've bought and reviewed several of their magnetic lens systems in the past, and they actually sent me this brand new one to try out. This is their KW Revolution Plus lineup, and one of the selling points of this one is that there is shock resistance, so it's got protection against dropping as well. And I can't tell you how many times I've had a camera on a tripod that's set up on questionable ground near the water, only to find that it falls over or I knock it over onto the ground, or even worse, a rock or a boulder. And I like the idea that these filters can just offer a little bit of protection against that droppage as well. They're even kind enough to send me some sample lenses to drop for you so that I don't have to drop my own lenses to demonstrate this. So let's take a look at how shock resistant they are. Okay, so first let's take a look at the system itself. These filters are magnetic, meaning they'll instantly attach to either the screw-in ring or a special new low-profile inlaid ring for your lenses without a spot for a filter attachment. The strong magnets even mean that they can stack, like so. KASE sent me these two lenses so that I could demonstrate a drop test for you. By the way, I asked Michaela to be in this shot, but I did not tell her that I was going to drop these lenses because I wanted to get her raw reaction to me dropping the test products.
What I need to do is
So she said she was pretty shocked to see me just drop the lenses directly onto the hard bricks, and as you can see, each lens that I dropped really did take a direct hit to the filter. One of them shattered, but still managed to protect the lens, and the other wasn't even really damaged at all. But because they're magnetic, you can actually just pop off the filters instead of having to use a special tool to remove it, which could possibly damage the lens even more. The last thing I'll say here is that the polarizing filter does its job well. As expected, it cuts out polarized light, and it does it without flaring or ghosting. That's really no surprise when I consider the high caliber of all of my other previous KASE filters. The new inlaid ring that comes with the package also does a really good job of allowing you to attach filters to lenses that don't have built-in filter screws, and it does so without adding any extra vignetting. Okay, so that covers lens filters. Thank you, KASE, for sending me those filters to try. So the next useful accessory that I'd like to share is called the Small Rig MultiTool. I like to throw this in the bag just because I always end up needing a quick tool to help me with things like attaching plates and brackets, or even just tightening loose ones. For example, with that Peak Design capture clip I mentioned earlier, this tool comes in handy if I ever want to relocate the clip to another strap or to my belt while I'm already out in the field and I don't need to remember to bring an Allen wrench. Okay, so another accessory that I use are these Apple AirTags. Now, if you're unfamiliar, AirTags are essentially these tiny tracking devices that you can hide in your bags. And if you ever lose your bag, or even worse, if it's stolen, these provide a helpful way to potentially track down your lost items. Now, a lot of us carry around expensive gear, so consider these a tiny extra way to prevent a really bad day. This next one is a useful gadget to consider if you do a lot of traveling. For me personally, I have a lot more than just a camera to charge when I go on a long trip. I've got multiple cameras, often a drone, possibly a tablet or a laptop as well. And I don't really want to carry a bunch of junk just for charging my devices. Anker sells a 150 watt charger with multiple USB-C ports, and this is more than enough juice to charge multiple devices. So I'll usually pack this and just a few USB-C cables and I'm covered. In a similar vein, I'd also consider picking up a rechargeable battery. This is more useful for situations where you can't potentially stop and charge a device. If I'm camping, if I'm on a long hike, or just out on a day trip, having a way to plug an accessory into this battery and let it charge while I'm out doing my thing is just a nice way to make sure I don't end up in a dead battery situation. I can't really recommend a specific one here though, because the size and the capacity you're going to want really depends on your own needs. The larger capacity relative to the smaller size and weight is usually a good way to go though, and I can say I've usually found good success with anything by Anker. So Personally, that would be what I would go with, but let me know down in the comments below if you've got a good suggestion. Now, number 9 is something a little off the beaten path. One thing I've noticed over the years is that I will go out into the field with the intention to shoot wildlife, but then something else will catch my interest and I'll want to photograph that too. Maybe it's my daughter, maybe it's a landscape, whatever it is. I maybe wasn't prepared and all I've got with me is a 600mm lens and I'm not able to photograph that subject. Now, I know I could just bring out my phone and use that, but if I'm carrying around a top-of-the-line professional camera, I might want to use it and take advantage of the sensor and all of the bells and whistles. But I also like carrying around as little weight as possible, and I don't have a lot of extra room in my bag. So what I'd recommend for those just-in-case moments is to see if your camera brand sells a Pancake Lens. I picked up this 26mm Pancake Lens by Nikon for the Z mount, and I'm loving it. It's tiny, nearly weightless, and the image quality is pretty good for what it is. So highly recommended that you find a Pancake Lens. So finally, to round out the list, number 10 is that I recommend you just have a good bag. Now, there are, by my count, a bazillion bags out there, and I can't possibly recommend the perfect bag for everyone's needs. So instead of trying that, but also instead of just copping out and saying, hey, your mileage may vary, good luck finding a bag out there, I'll offer you a suggestion that's very specific to a need I recently had. If you're like me and you carry around a very long lens, you might be looking for a bag that will fit it. I purchased Nikon's 800PF and it was just too long to fit in every other bag that I had. I also hated the little bag that it came with because there were no extra spots for anything else useful and it was just uncomfortable to wear. So after doing a bunch of searching, I found this bag by Think Tank. This is their Dark Light 20-liter bag. And it's not only tall enough to fit the 800PF, but I can also fit a second lens on the side. So I've been taking this out on almost every outing that I've been on, and I'll typically put in the 800PF and a second lens on the side. I've even been able to fit the 800PF and the 600PF side by side in the bag, so there is plenty of space. There's also a top zipper that gives you quick access without needing to unzip the whole bag, and there's a helpful front pouch that has plenty of space for storing, your extra important things, like the other things on this list. Okay, so that is it. That's my list. If you are interested in any of these, I'm going to leave links down in the description below. Special thanks to KASE for sending over those KW Revolution Plus filters. I appreciate the opportunity to test those out, and for everyone else, thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next one.